impregnating herself with a turkey baster on the kitchen floor, orgasms and feeling closer to God. Hello and welcome to Yesteryear Book Club. Today we are reviewing Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. The first time I seen the cover of this book, I was a little creeped out, and I don't normally go for books that are realistic with any sort of time travel aspect, so I wasn't sure about reading it. But it had really great reviews and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And of course it has the link to Ballerina Farm, which makes it even more compelling because I'm such a Mormon nerd. So I had to get it. And from the beginning of this book, I felt a real connection to the main character, Natalie. Natalie wants to do the right thing, but the right thing doesn't come naturally to her. She's a bit of a cold fish, standoffish, and finds it hard to make friends. Even though all of this would make her extremely unlikable, as a character, I find her enjoyable reading because she's complicated. Natalie is highly intelligent, but because of the world she has been brought up in, her only real choices are motherhood and homemaking, when naturally she would prefer a career. So this makes her more compelling to the reader, I feel. For me, one of the main points of this story is the comparison between the life of a woman living in the 18th century as a pioneer American and Natalie living in the 2020s as a Christian, good American woman. Both these women belong to their husbands for different reasons, but it really boils down to the same thing. Neither of them can leave. So, what has really changed in the last 200 years? Natalie Heller Mills would definitely consider feminism a dirty word and doesn't feel the need to vote. Natalie's social media glorifies subjugation. She still has lots of kids, she still does all the housework. The only difference between Natalie in the 2000s and Natalie in the past is the use of technology. I had never heard of the author before I bought this book, Caro Claire Burke. I'm definitely going to check out her podcast, Diabolical Lies. So, Natalie's husband, Caleb, the one from the present and the one from the past, are spoiled, obnoxious, conspiracy theorists. I mean, they're the same person at the end of the day. He is the conundrum of modern life, the failed educated male. No wonder he ended up in the manosphere. He's a very good caricature of what men are like when they're like that online. Even him not getting an erection on their wedding night makes me wonder whether he's got a porn addiction or maybe that he's gay, and I got the feeling that Natalie was wondering that too. Old Caleb, when he is in his 50s, is definitely just a more concise version of past Caleb. He's just more extreme. But the sex scene, when he manages to get an erection, even though his wife is mentally ill, and the God stuff, it did make me wonder what on earth is going on in that man's head. I suppose not much. You're my wife, this is what wives do, it doesn't matter whether you're sane or not. It's really messed up, but I think, that's the way people like that think. So I think the main premise of this book is what has actually changed for women, but then the subheading or the sub-story would be fake it until you make it, act happy until you are. The lies we all tell ourselves to get through each day. It was at this point of the book, after the sex scene, when I knew there was a twist coming. I knew something was off, I just couldn't figure out what it was. And for me that's great because I can normally figure out in fiction what's going to happen. So if a book surprises me, I'm really happy. When Shannon went on TV and told the world Natalie sexually assaulted her, I knew in that moment Natalie would break. That was such a body blow. And then to follow that up so quickly with Caleb announcing that his father is conspiring to murder Natalie, in a car crash. Whack. Another blow, this time to the head. Very Princess Diana, Prince Philip dynamic there. Then Natalie, at her lowest point, turns to her mother for comfort and gets her legs cut out from beneath her because her mother feels the urge to confess that she, a good Christian woman that raised Natalie to be a good Christian woman, had an affair that broke up her marriage. And that makes Natalie just cave in on herself. The foundation on which she has built her entire life has now crumbled away. At this point in the story, I thought Natalie would take an overdose, and the chapters that were entitled Past would be some sort of coma dream. That probably would have been preferable to what actually happened with Natalie and Caleb cutting themselves off completely from the world for 13 years and living like they were back in the 1800s. The twist when it came was so good. The nervous breakdown, the bad mental health, the lies on top of lies, Caleb disappearing to his cabin called the Manosphere, leaving the women to cook and clean, the fact that Caleb never actually did any farming and that their two oldest sons were supplying them with store-bought vegetables they were rubbing dirt onto. Absolutely insane. Mary having a crush on the neighbours, and then the neighbours turning out to be her older brothers that she can't remember. That was really funny in a messed up way. It was also funny the fact that Natalie didn't recognise her oldest sons. I think that's a good way of showing how unwell she is. The last chapter was really good and wrapped the story up nicely. It makes you ask the question, was Natalie unwell from the start, or is she guilty of committing child abuse? I think personally Natalie might have been unwell after having her first baby. We know she went through postnatal depression, and I don't think that ever lifted. And I think maybe it just got worse and worse, and she spiraled with each new pregnancy. But she was guilty as well, so it's a really difficult question, and a really good one. I'm glad that Mary went on to write a book, and it's a book within a book. Again, a really smart concept, and I'm glad that in her book she forgave Natalie. I give this book 9 out of 10. The only reason I didn't give it 10 out of 10 was because I found some of the God stuff in the past chapters slow going. Goodreads gives this 3.9 stars out of 5, and I think this is a really good book. It gives a fresh look on social media, child exploitation, mental health, Christianity, the fear culture surrounding women. Are we doing the right thing? Online personas and faking it until you make it. This is a very good book, and I think it's a very interesting take on feminism and where we are with feminism, whether anything in the last 200 years has really changed to a great extent, and why do people keep wanting to go back to the past. I would recommend this book. It isn't difficult reading. It would actually be a good holiday read for someone, especially if you're slightly over, glossy paperbacks. I took it camping and loved it. Until next time, like, comment, and subscribe. Don't go living like it's the 1800s. Bye!